Hi traders, welcome to Elite Currency. My name is Chris. The euro dollar and pound dollar had very strong bearish momentum on Thursday, but price is consolidating. Let's take a look at the key levels right now. Alright, I want to start with this weekly chart because I see bearish engulfing twins from last week, and I think we're seeing a retracement of those twins. We still have bearish momentum. Look at the HMA here very clearly to the downside. We do have a support fractal though. 2 weekly candles did not break this low. So that could be a bouncing spot, although I think a lower low is still possible. And as I already indicated in the video from last weekend, a bounce at the 50 fib I think is most likely at 114.50 to complete a wave A, and we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we expect an ABC up. So this would be A, this would be B, probably a head and shoulders like this for the wave B to finish, and then down for wave C at the 61.8 fib. That I think at the moment is the path of least resistance. So this retracement that we're seeing on the euro dollar daily chart, these 2 small candles, I don't think is too important. I do think it's still a retracement. Price is still below the weekly pivot point. I think that's a pretty key level, because if price stays below that, I do think that a downtrend continuation is likely with this pair. You can see that we have everything really in place for a bearish continuation. We have a diamond red fractal that's indicating downtrend. We have HMA down that's indicating bearish momentum. So, and we're below the weekly pivot point. Now, let's talk a little bit about this scenario. So, what if price breaks above the weekly pivot point? Well, in that case, I don't think that this is bearish anymore. Let's zoom in all the way to the 50-minute chart, because although it's difficult to see any wave 1, 2, 3 in this, we could use this kind of small little pullback as a potential wave 3, or the start of wave 3 to the end. And let's take a look. We can see that price hit the 50 fib. So that could be a key turning spot. Price has, in the meantime, about an hour ago, broken actually below this kind of rising wedge formation that hit the 50 fib on a 50-minute chart. So this rising wedge is broken. Price hit the 50 fib. And as long as it stays below the weekly pivot point, as you can see, that 61.8 fib, the wave 4 I think is still likely. So in that case, this could be wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of that bigger wave 5 of that bigger wave A. All right. So now that wave 5, it could see another 5 waves. We might see wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's also possible that it becomes extended. If it breaks above this weekly pivot point, then it's less likely that that's a 5-wave pattern. In that case, I think we're looking at a triangle. This might be A, B, we might go up for C, and if we break above this weekly pivot point, that C might go up to the R1. I should use blue for that actually, and that might be C. Then we get D and up for E, and I would expect it to finish with that last push down. All right, and we could get a triangle like that. That's if price breaks above the weekly pivot point. Doesn't seem likely at the moment. We already analyzed that and said, like, this is looking corrective. This is choppy ABC correction probably. So that is looking like a wave 4. Price stopped at the 50 fib, broke this rising wedge, and starting to get some momentum. Now the HMA is still up on the 4-hour chart. So if that flips down, or if we have a good 4-hour candle here, that in itself could already be kind of a trigger on the 4-hour chart for that last push down to 114.50. All right. Stop losses, I would think above the high or weekly pivot point is more precise, probably more less vulnerable, perhaps. But both would do, I think, as a stop loss. Now, if the HMA stays up, there's still that danger that momentum is still up. But if it flips down, I think there's a good chance of continuation lower. Or on the hourly chart, of course, if you were awake 2 hours ago, this bearish candle could have been an entry at the break of the rising wedge. But you know, this video has been taped after that. Typically, we record around 7 a.m. London time, 8 a.m. London time. So it was a bit early. But another option could be that if price, makes some kind of smaller consolidation, perhaps on the 50-minute chart, some bear flag like this, that too could be an option to trade like this. I'm not sure how far it could fall further, of course, right, before we get this bear flag. But if it then HMA turns up and then back down in this after the bear flag completes, that could be another indication of some downside that the downside could start, I want to say. So HMA here is down as well. We have red fractals indicating downtrend. So everything is really good to go, I would say. Just maybe wait for consolidation. I'm waiting for consolidation, basically, and a continuation on the 1 hour chart as an example, or 15-minute chart, something like that. Seems good to me. But of course, if there's any very strong price action, always keep in mind the market is flexible and the market can do whatever it wants. So although I think it is bearish, it doesn't have to be bearish. Any strong bullish candlestick pattern like this, would invalidate probably that downside, and we could see a bigger correction to the upside. All right, part of that triangle probably. Now, pound dollar is pretty much the same as the euro dollar. I think we're looking at, there's a good chance that this was the end of the wave 4. There is a slight probability, basically, that there could be an expanded wave 4 like this, that this is one correction, this is the second correction, up we go for a third correction. But before that becomes likely, same thing like the euro dollar, I think price has to break above the weekly pivot point, and then it has potential space up to the R1. If it stays below the weekly pivot point, I think it's still looking bearish. This is looking just like the euro dollar, like ABC. We have momentum to the downside, so I still think that continuation lower is most likely. And I still think that this is looking more like an ABC correction. We have fractals down. HMA is not down yet, but basically, if we get a breakout of this trend line, I think that there's a good chance of a continuation lower as well. We have here too, everything pretty much aligned for downtrend on the daily chart, on the weekly chart, on the 4-hour chart. So there's a lot of alignment here. That doesn't necessarily mean that price must and will go down. Just saying that there's a lot of kind of momentum building up here to the downside. And actually, I think that pound dollar might even have more space to the downside if it breaks through this trend line, if it breaks through 132. There could be an extension even to 130, which is the next, round level or quarter level, basically, that price typically respects. 132.50, 135, 130 are typical levels of support or resistance that are very strong. So breakout looks good here, but still need a couple of candles, or a 4-hour candle, or an hour candle to confirm that breakout. And also we need a push below 130. 132. If for whatever reason there is some bullish engulfing twins on the 4-hour chart, be careful, because it could retest the weekly pivot point instead. All right, so got to be flexible. Always keep an eye on the new candles that arrive and what kind of information that provides. That, of course, will give us a new kind of outlook of the path of least resistance. All right, that wraps it up for today's video. Hope that you liked that. If you do, please share, like, and subscribe. We really appreciate that. Also, if you like, check out elitecurrency.com. We got a lot of free analysis there, but also some of our paid services like ECS Live, where we take a look at the market on an intraday, daily basis. In the Forex, sometimes take a look at cryptos, gold. We also take a look at long-term charts when needed. So feel free to try that out perhaps for 1 month if you like. In any case, wish you all good trading and see you soon. Cheers.